Good evening, everyone. You're listening to Red Pill 78. I am the corruption detector, and this is your Red Pilled News. Hope everyone's having a lovely day. We've got lots of news to get through today. Lots of interesting things are happening in the world. First of all, the Democratic debate was held last night, and Joe Biden let something slip about an upcoming event on the 17th. Now, it's in relation to President Trump, and on the 17th, President Trump is going to be in Dallas. I'm going to let you guys fill in the blanks until we get to the story. Also, it looks like there are some major developments happening in the General Flynn case. Sidney Powell has recently found that the government is in possession of telephones that were used by none other than Joseph Mifsud, and she is demanding that evidence be turned over to the defense. Also, Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats held a press conference this morning. Looks like they will not be calling a vote on impeachment, which means what we have already been talking about and knowing for quite some time. The impeachment inquiry is a sham because it's not a real impeachment inquiry. We're going to be talking about a couple of blog sites from Patriots so that you guys can go check those out and grab some neat memes. Also, Project Veritas is on the scene with yet more additional information from their inside man at CNN. Also, Hunter Biden is involved in additional stories of corruption, this time with Amtrak. Joe Biden was milking Amtrak for years, just siphoning money out of Amtrak. Absolutely incredible to think the amount of money this guy has been able to acquire over the decades that he's been in power. And then finally, a big win for President Trump and the security of America. He has vetoed the resolution blocking his national emergency declaration to divert funds from the Pentagon to build the border wall. We're going to get into all of this and more, and we'll be right back after a quick word from my sponsor. With threats to our freedom like the new conflict in Hong Kong, immigrants crossing our southern border illegally, riots between the left and the right, and the uncontrollable rise of socialism, the future of America and the stability of her power grid are not promised, and neither is your safety. One of the best things you can invest in for home protection is a Patriot Brother flashlight, so why not purchase one of the best flashlights on the market, the Patriot Flashlight. The holidays are fast approaching, and that's why Patriot Flashlight wants to extend a special 20% Patriot discount to all customers throughout the month of October for its remaining 2019 Patriot model inventory. Patriot Flashlight is the perfect gift for you and your loved ones this holiday season. Limited supplies last, and this is your last chance to get the 2019 model at a discount before they sell out. Take advantage now and give you and your family the gift of night protection. Please visit www.patriotflashlight.com and use code REDPILL20 for 20% off. So, starting off, last night on the Democratic debate, I saw that Joe Biden was, of course, having some trouble like he normally does. But he mentioned something about the 17th, something happening on the 17th, and it was clear that he was not supposed to say it. He stopped himself in his tracks, and then he tried to move on to something else. So Salty Crystal actually got a copy of the clip, so we're going to go ahead and take a listen to Joe Biden and what he had to say.
My son's statement speaks for itself. What I think is important is we focus on why it's so important to remove this man from office. On the 17th, look, my son's statement speaks for itself. What I think is important is we focus on why it's so important to remove this man from office. On the 17th, look.
What's going to happen on the 17th, Joe? This seems to me almost like an intervention like Brennan and Pelosi were talking about. We talked about that a couple months ago. And I think that it's no mistake that the president is going to be in Dallas on the 17th. 17th is a holy day for us, special day maybe more like. But in Dallas, we all know what happened in Dallas to JFK. Could this be Joe Biden hinting at another intervention planned to take place on October 17th? Now, add to that this weird little thing here. A couple days ago, this interview with James Comey came out. And if you take a look at this picture, it's clearly staged. You've got Comey sitting there in this perch looking down on a motorcade of Star Wars toys with what looks like some other Star Wars paraphernalia over here. You got That little bot, I don't know what it's called. That's definitely the Millennium Falcon. There is an X-Wing. Maybe that's a Y-Wing. I don't know. These toys are different than they were when I was a kid. And then over here you have this green area. Kind of looks like the grassy knoll, huh? Well, I wasn't the only one who thought that. Because of this tweet right here from Real Eyes. It says, Comey sitting from Oswald's Overwatch position. Notice the toys, grassy knoll as the motorcade passes, and location of American Airlines Center. Okay, so here's another look at that picture. And here is actually a bird's eye view of Dealey Plaza. Here is the motorcade. I believe this is the grassy knoll over here, and then this is American Airlines Center over here. So these are those Star Wars toys. This is that motorcade, and then this would be that green pillow with Comey back here looking down like Oswald. And here is the grassy knoll in Dallas, Texas. From the grassy knoll to American Airlines Center, if you take this route, it happens to be 17 minutes. Now, if you're looking at it here, so the John F. Kennedy Memorial Plaza is down here, so I think that's what Dealey Plaza was. I think that would mean that the grassy knoll would be over on this side. You've got the actual motorcade going through there, so then that Star Wars toys over on the left must be whatever this was over here behind this. Can't really tell what that is. Looks like an amphitheater or something. But if we've got American Airlines Center over here, then that must be something out this way. Don't quite know how it's staged, but I will say that it does look, this green pillow that's suspiciously placed, and this is certainly a motorcade, and then this does look like the shape of that thing that is back here in this photo. I think that's pretty strange. I don't know if they planned that one, but obviously it looks to me like the deep state is sending a message in regards to President Trump being in Dallas on the 17th. Big hat tip to Methods to bringing this tweet to my attention. All right, now developing, Flynn attorney Sidney Powell is demanding that the DOJ produce newly discovered Brady material, which is 2 phones used by Joseph Mifsud. First saw this yesterday when Technofog put it out. General Mike Flynn's lawyer Sidney Powell on Tuesday filed a motion demanding the Justice Department produce Brady material that has recently come into the DOJ's possession, which includes 2 phones, and they were BlackBerries, ironically, used by deep state spy Joseph Mifsud. I wonder if he had an email address on Hillary Clinton's private server. As we reported in mid-September, Sidney Powell gave us a clue regarding the deep state's actions in setting up members of the Trump team. Now, Powell requested that the U.S. government provide her and her client, General Mike Flynn, documents related to deep state spy Joseph Mifsud from an event in late 2015. Powell referred to 302s regarding the dinner event in 2015 that General Flynn attended, which means that the FBI was interviewing Mifsud as early as 2015 and knew exactly who Mifsud was and was not before Papadopoulos ever met Mifsud. Now remember, it also came out yesterday that Glenn Simpson was hired in early 2015 to start looking into then-candidate Donald Trump. Sidney Powell Tuesday demanded the DOJ produce evidence that only has recently come into the DOJ's possession. This evidence includes the data and metadata of the following 2 devices. And you've got a BlackBerry Bold and another BlackBerry, apparently. Now, what's interesting is that the phones themselves could be wiped. So the phones themselves might contain no data. However, metadata would be recoverable because that would be kept on file with the actual carriers. And if Mifsud was under the employ of the FBI at the time that he was attending this event with General Flynn, you can bet that they probably already got that data off of those phones. This information is material, exculpatory, and relevant to the defense of Mr. Flynn, and specifically to the Oconus lures and agents that Western intelligence tasked against him likely as early as 2014 to arrange, unbeknownst to him, connection with certain Russians that they would use then against him in their false claims. The phones were used by Mr. Joseph Mifsud, Powell said in a Tuesday court filing. Powell added Mr. Flynn is entitled to this information under Brady versus Maryland, and here we are with the actual tweet from Technofog. Says developing Flynn lawyer Sidney Powell demanding DOJ produce evidence that has only recently come under the DOJ's possession. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the statement from the document. And they are requesting initially by email. They did not respond initially. And then they mentioned the Oconus lures and the agents that Western intelligence tasked with setting up General Flynn. And Mr. Flynn is entitled to this under Brady. The rules of Brady does so by requiring the prosecutor to assist the defense in making its case. So this is potentially exculpatory information that General Flynn could use to prove his innocence. And I'd say that it's safe to say that General Flynn only pled guilty because his son, Michael Flynn Jr., was threatened by the Justice Department if he did not plead guilty. That has been widely known. The DOJ responded Tuesday, if we determine that they contain information that is discoverable or that is relevant to sentencing, we will produce them to you. Joseph Mifsud, a Maltese professor, was also used by the deep state to set up Trump's foreign policy campaign advisor, George Papadopoulos. Recall, Mifsud approached Papadopoulos in the spring of 2016 to plant a story on him that the Russians had Hillary Clinton's missing State Department emails. Joseph Mifsud and James Comey were both reportedly in Australia the week before the George Papadopoulos meeting. James Comey straight up lied when he claimed Mifsud was a Russian and Mueller referred to him as a person with Russian links and contacts. Mifsud lied to the FBI 3 times, yet Robert Mueller never charged him with making false statements. This is because Mifsud is a clowns in America Western intel asset. So obvious. Mueller refused to answer Congressman Jim Jordan why he never charged Mifsud with making false statements, even though he charged several others with the same process crimes. U.S. Attorney General Bill Barr and U.S. Attorney from Connecticut John Durham better get to the bottom of exactly who Joseph Mifsud is and how the U.S. government used him to take down Trump and his associates, including General Flynn. Now, yesterday there was a special benefit for General Flynn that aired, I believe, on a couple of different YouTube channels. I haven't had the opportunity to see how it turned out. Hopefully, it turned out well for the general because we know that this entire witch hunt has essentially drained him of his life savings. He's been forced to sell his homes, and it's just absolutely insane what they have done to this American patriot. Now, quite literally, these phones could be the goose that laid the golden egg for General Flynn. I find it very difficult to believe that any information on those phones could not be exculpatory because we know that Mifsud was meeting with the FBI. They were taking reports on what he was doing, and this was the early days of the Spygate operation when they were using Oconus lures. Surely Mifsud was one of those lures, and surely he was used to set up not only George Papadopoulos, but attempt to set up General Flynn. So hopefully the DOJ is going to do the right thing. I have to have faith in Bill Barr, but I definitely have faith in John Durham because his specialty is political corruption and organized crime. And in this case, we have that in spades. Well, Nancy Pelosi has informed the Democrat caucus that there will not be a formal floor vote to launch impeachment probe because it's a scam. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi confirmed to her Democrat caucus on Tuesday that there will be no formal floor vote to officially launch an impeachment probe against President Trump. Fox News Congress reporter Chad Pergram and Congress writer for The Hill Scott Wong both confirmed Pelosi has no plans to hold a full House vote. Rather, Pelosi and her fellow Democrat coup plotters are moving full steam ahead with secret impeachment proceedings to keep President Trump and his lawyers in the dark, as Adam Schiff previously stated. Now, Chad Pergram says Fox has told Pelosi plans no vote right now to formally launch an impeachment probe at this time. She has been discussing this with House Democrats. And Scott Wong says confirmed Pelosi informs caucus there will not be a formal floor vote to launch the impeachment inquiry. Now, House Intelligence Chairman Adam Schiff admitted on Sunday on CBS's Face the Nation that the reason for holding secret testimonies behind closed doors is to keep President Trump and his lawyers in the dark. And so Schiff can selectively leak to the media. The crooked Democrats on Tuesday changed the rules again in their sham impeachment inquiry. The Dems shifted the closed-door interviews to depositions in order to limit the questioning to one attorney per round. Another reason why Pelosi won't hold a full House vote on the floor is because she will expose vulnerable vulnerable red state Democrats who are up for a tough re-election in 2020. Pelosi knows the majority of Americans do not support impeachment. Furthermore, the Dems are able to block the minority members from issuing subpoenas and questioning witnesses. The Democrats only have control over the House. Imagine the kind of tyranny they will impose on Americans if they were ever to take control of the Senate and the White House. Truly frightening. Yes, it is truly frightening. Now, some good news about this. Obviously, this is a scam. The Democrats are not holding an actual impeachment hearing. The fact that they're not bringing this floor vote, it means that it's not real. The subpoenas that they're sending out are absolutely fake. That's why we've got Rudy Giuliani not deciding to participate in this sham impeachment. That's why we have Vice President Mike Pence also deciding not to participate in this false impeachment, as well as the White House and President Trump himself. If they don't call a floor vote, then it's not an impeachment hearing, and they cannot impeach the president. Now, I've said many times, even if they did hold a vote and they impeach President Trump here in the House, that he would never be convicted in the Senate. Absolutely never would happen, because President Trump is the greatest president that we've ever had, and he has the full support of, I would say, the majority of the Republicans in the Senate. There's a couple of rhinos out there. But until they hold a real vote, it's not a real impeachment hearing. This is going to just continue to be a circus, bread and circus sideshow, and Adam Schiff is going to keep leaking to the press, and they will keep trying to fabricate crimes that the president has committed. But fear not, my friends, he has done nothing wrong. President Trump is allowing these people to drown themselves, okay? This is not something to worry about. I see liberals out there with their heads exploding, freaking out, saying that your guy is going to get impeached. It's happening. It's happening. And I see Republicans out there freaking out, saying that, well, now they're impeaching the president. Even if they try, they will never get it completed, because President Trump has done nothing wrong. Don't worry, guys. It's a scam. Now, I'm sure that everybody remembers all of the talk about corn, whether it's from Devin Nunes, whether it's from Chuck Grassley. Well, Jennifer Mack has put together a series of memes that are all related to this corn thing. And it's not just these guys, it's our favorite Anon. So we know that this idea of harvesting corn means something. And I really do think that it means taking down the bad guys. So I just want to send you guys to thejennifermack.com so that you can check out her blog and check out all of these corn memes that she's done. She's done a really great job. So I will leave that link in the description of this video below. This is why the establishment is freaking out. Before we pop the corn, we have to harvest it. Now, Project Veritas is on a roll. Apparently, they're releasing more hidden camera footage from CNN, and I guess Jeff Zucker told Jake Tapper to effing nail Kellyanne Conway. What a nice guy. More hidden camera footage from inside CNN was released by Project Veritas on Wednesday, this time revealing that CNN President Jeff Zucker went into the control room while Jake Tapper was interviewing Kellyanne Conway and told the executive producer to just effing nail her. Was she in the room? He was interviewing her, and he went in and said this. What a guy. In the second release in Project Veritas's Exposed CNN series, media coordinator Christian Sierra was caught on camera saying that Zucker personally told Tapper's executive producer to skip commercials while the host was interviewing Kellyanne Conway, extend a 7-minute interview to 25 minutes, and just effing nail her. Wow. Let's go ahead and take a look at the clip.
To acknowledge that I know these tweets from Project Veritas.
So Jeff Zucker runs the show?
Jeff Zucker runs the show. He will personally go into the control room, and if Jake Tapper's interviewing Kellyanne Conway, he one time he went to the control room during that interview, and he was like, keep going, ask the questions, blow past the commercial breaks, keep going. And it turned a 7-minute interview into a 25-minute interview.
Why?
Because Jeff Zucker personally got on the phone with the executive producer of Tapper's show.
What was happening?
Or he got into his ear. He was interviewing Kellyanne Conway, and it was a tough exchange. She was arguing back and forth with Jake Tapper, and Zucker told him on the earpiece, keep going. Don't stop.
Because you were jamming her up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The truth is,
two of those three hostages were taken
when you were president, so maybe we should take down this false tweet.
And all three could well be released while he's president.
And God bless, and I hope that happens, but why lie about it?
Well, if you hope it happens, let's cover a little bit. Excuse me, let's cover
I'm waiting
a
for
little
it to
bit.
happen.
What do you think is the most important thing going on in North Korea?
I mean, Kellyanne Conway is just whatever. So
Kellyanne Conway's a pretext.
I like the fact that you guys are jamming her up, though.
Because she deserves it. She's lying all the time.
One last thing about Porter.
Is she? Or is she just...
She is.
Is she, though? Is she lying all the time? No, I think Kellyanne Conway is a tough cookie who can handle her own, especially to the likes of this neckbeard from CNN or Jake Tapper, any of them. I take Kellyanne Conway in a fight any day. Now, the footage was captured by former CNN employee turned whistleblower Carrie Porch, who worked at CNN's Washington, D.C. bureau. The former employee told Project Veritas that he decided to wear a hidden camera to expose the bias running rampant at the network and secretly recorded his colleagues for months. Now, a GoFundMe campaign for Porch has begun because he's now unemployed, and it's raised over $90,000 in just 2 days. The first part of the release revealed the extent of Zucker's obsession with impeaching Trump and a personal vendetta against him. Project Veritas has announced that they will be releasing a third video on Thursday. We're definitely going to want to keep an eye out for that, guys, and you can bet that I will be covering it here. Now, this is great here, the fact that Carrie Porch's GoFundMe has raised over $90,000, because I would bet he's going to be essentially unemployable among most of the media industry, considering the fact that he was willing to go wear this hidden camera. But it's due to brave souls like him. People like him who are not willing to sit idly by while the powers that be destroy good people and use their power and their might to try to take down a democratically elected president. Carrie Porch is a hero, and once again, I put him among the greatest of the Project Veritas whistleblowers, and I really do hope that there are more others like you out there. Maybe people who watch my show, people who are willing to come forward and say, no, this is not right. I've said it before, I will say it again. If there is anyone out there who wants to come out and give evidence against their employer based upon the things that they see, the bias that they feel is going on in their jobs, please, you can reach me at redpill78@protonmail.com, and I'm sure that Project Veritas would love to hear from you as well. So all this talk about this CNN whistleblower has reminded me of another former CNN employee who left CNN as a result of the creeping media bias that she saw in there, the liberal media bias, and that would be Linda Paris, or you might know her as Deplorable McAllister from YouTube. But Linda has put together her own awesome meme server. It's on her website, lindapariscrimeblog.com, and it looks like maybe you can go to deplorablemcallister.com as well. But definitely I'm looking at the link, and it's Linda Paris Crime Blog. I will leave it in the description below. But basically, she has duplicated the Q Mega meme server, and she's got a little article written up here along with links to go and have access to it. So definitely go to this website, get yourself copies of these memes, use them in the daily fight against the cabal and all of the mainstream media demons that we are fighting against on a daily basis. Thank you, Linda, for putting this together. Well, Hunter Biden is the gift that keeps on giving, and people are really starting to take a look at every aspect of his career, and it appears that not a moment in his life was free from scandal. And now, I mentioned yesterday that Hunter and Joe had the same teeth. This is clearly before Hunter got his new teeth. Now, in June 2006, Hunter Biden was put on the Amtrak board, and Democrats are saying he spent a lot of time on trains. Senator Thomas Carper from Delaware argued that Hunter spent a lot of time on trains and therefore makes an excellent candidate for the board. Hunter Biden was voted onto the Amtrak board, and in the first half of 2006, Hunter Biden's lobbyist firm made $1.76 million in lobbying revenue in just the first half of 2006. Democrat Carper argued on Hunter's behalf. He said Hunter Biden is a native Delawarean, and I would go on to say that he's been nominated to serve on the Amtrak board of directors. When Hunter was able to get into the University of Delaware, he instead went on to Georgetown and then to Yale Law School and managed to get through those okay. He's ended up being senior vice president at MBNA, one of the largest financial institutions in the country because of his dad. He served as executive director of economy policy coordination at the U.S. Department of Commerce. I would imagine that's also because of his dad. About 5 years ago, he went off and formed a law firm here in Washington, D.C., and now they represent over 100 clients, including a bunch of nonprofit organizations and educational institutions. More specifically, though, and for our purposes and for the purpose of this nomination, Hunter Biden has spent a lot of time on Amtrak trains. Like his father, like our Congressman Mike Castle and myself, Hunter Biden has lived in Delaware while using Amtrak to commute to his job as we commute to our job in Washington almost every day of the week. You know, you learn a lot about what could work and what could work better at Amtrak by riding trains and talking to passengers, the commuters, the passengers, the folks who work on the trains and make them work every day. You also have a chance to see the huge economic benefit the region receives from having a strong passenger rail corridor, something that should be available in a lot of other parts of the country. Now, I said earlier that Joe Biden has had a long history with Amtrak. Let me tell you a little bit about that. Now, if you search Joe Biden Amtrak, there are a ton of articles that pop up showing that Joe Biden had this love affair with Amtrak trains. It's his favorite mode of transportation. Well, maybe it has something to do with why his son was appointed to the board of Amtrak, not just the fact that Hunter liked to ride trains. You know, but I searched Joe Biden Amtrak problem to see if there was anything that came up just besides the fact that Joe Biden is in love with the Amtrak system, because I was told by someone that there was a large scheme that Joe Biden had worked up where he was bilking money out of the Amtrak system, probably much like the same way that Hunter Biden was bilking money out of the companies that he was serving on as a result of being the son of Joe Biden. But you know, it might be interesting to go ahead and do a little search for yourself and take a look. It looks like he's called Amtrak Joe. And perhaps the person who contacted me with the tip about Joe Biden taking money out of the Amtrak system is going to be willing to come forward and talk to me on the record about that. We'll see. Maybe they're going to watch this video. And finally, big win for the Patriots. President Trump vetoes the resolution blocking his national emergency declaration to divert funds from the Pentagon to build the border wall. President Trump again vetoed the measure blocking his national emergency declaration to divert funds from the Pentagon to build that border wall, Fox News reported on Tuesday night. Trump issued the veto in the middle of the clown show Democrat debate Tuesday night. In short, the situation on our southern border remains a national emergency, and our armed forces are still needed to help confront it, Trump's message to the Senate said. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell's office said the Senate will vote on President Trump's veto later this week. However, neither chamber of Congress has the votes to override Trump's veto. Senators last month voted 54-41 on a resolution to end the emergency declaration, which would allow Trump to divert funds from the Pentagon to build a border wall. 11 Republican senators voted with the Democrats to end the emergency declaration. And let's take a look. We've got Senators Lamar Alexander from Tennessee, Roy Blunt from Missouri, Susan Collins from Maine, Mike Lee from Utah, Jerry Moran, Kansas, Lisa Murkowski, Alaska, Rand Paul, Kentucky, Rob Portman, Ohio, Mitt Romney, Utah, Pat Toomey from Pennsylvania, and Roger Wicker from Mississippi all voted to end the president's emergency declaration on Wednesday, likely prompting a veto showdown. The president declared a national emergency back in February and vetoed a prior resolution passed by the Senate to kill his declaration. Now, many of the names on this list are not a surprise. I think the only one that I was hoping was not going to side with the Democrats was Rand Paul from Kentucky. Now, I know that Rand and the president don't agree on everything. I know that Rand often disagrees with the president on the use of the military. However, in this instance, we're talking about not sending money and troops overseas to, take part in endless wars. But we're talking about securing our own border, making our own citizens safer. I would think that Rand would be okay with that. But all of the other ones, Lamar, Susan, Mike, Murkowski, all these people, I'm not surprised that they sided with the Democrats. These are the people who are the rhinos. And Mike Lee from Utah, he's particularly egregious. He agrees with the president when it's in his own best interest, and more often than not, he disagrees with the president. So big win for the Patriots. Very, very proud of President Trump. We are going to get this one through. And even though the border wall is being built already, it will be built faster and better than ever before as a result of that military Pentagon money going down to south of the border. Well, guys, just a couple of quick thoughts I want to leave you with. I want you to remember that it's not just Hunter and Joe. The Bidens have a history of raising children and having people in their family who like to break the law. First of all, his niece Caroline stole $100,000 through a credit card scam. That is grand larceny. She cut a deal with New York prosecutors, and she got off scot-free without any jail time or probation. Hunter was kicked out of the Navy for failing a cocaine drug test. Then he divorced his wife, mother of his 3 daughters, after a year-long affair, to marry his brother's widow. That is not cool. And then all throughout the divorce, Hunter drained hundreds of thousands of dollars from the couple's assets by spending extravagantly on his own interests. And that included drugs, alcohol, women of the night, gifts for other women with whom he'd had relations. Good stuff. All while leaving the family with no funds to pay legitimate bills. He left his children penniless. And, we've got the sauce on that. I'll go over on that one tomorrow. And on top of that, we've got billions of dollars that he and his father arranged to dubiously siphon out of Ukraine and China. And then, of course, don't forget there's Joe Biden's daughter, Jill Ashley Biden Crine. She's been arrested several times on drug charges, and that was while he was vice president. She was also videotaped partaking in the Colombian snow, and the media just decided not to publish the video. She hid out in the Delaware home for about a week or so until things calmed down, and the access media had let the story go on by. Now, when you put all of Biden's children and family members up against President Trump, his children, his family members, what are you going to say? That is the perfect measure of a man's character. President Trump has children who are true patriots and who are true good people. Now, I'm not saying just because someone has used drugs or has done something to get themselves in trouble that means they are bad people. It's when you don't have consequences for the actions you take that it begins to affect your character. People like the Bidens are able to act with literal impunity. They can do whatever they want, when they want, and when they know that there is no punishment for anything that they do wrong, you can bet they're going to get away with whatever they're able. Well, guys, that's all I have for you today. I want to thank everyone for joining me. As always, this has been Red Pill 78. I am the Corruption Detector, and this was your Red Pill News. Good luck, everyone, and God bless. Hey guys, it's Red Pill. I just wanted to say once again, thank you very much for supporting my channel. If you want to, there are links in the description of this video below for several different ways that you can help out. Also, don't forget that when you support my sponsors, you are supporting the channel. Without them, I would not be able to keep doing the work that I'm doing. Also, if you are not already, please make sure that you are subscribed to the channel and that you click that notification bell to make sure that you get notifications every time that I do put a video out. And you can also follow me on Twitter at RedPill78. So thanks again, you guys, and I'll see you next time.